What's up, guys? Just hanging out here in the studio. I just finished making a helmet kit that had to go out, so had my camera over here and figured now's a good time to make an updated yearly shop tour video. My studio, my little workspace, some of the new stuff that I've gotten since last year that I use to work on helmets and make these kits and props, or whatever you want to call them. So yeah, here we are in the little studio, an 8x8 studio. Not too much has changed since last year. I have put up yet another shelf on the right wall up here, this shelf up here. I now have it on 3 walls going all around the ceiling, and that's just obviously storage for helmets and casts that I need to work on, etc. Things that I don't have to get up and get to quite often because I need to get a stool or a ladder or something to get up here. I'm 6 feet tall and I can't reach that. I usually climb up on that stool. So yeah, I got that shelf put up there, and of course it's still not enough. I'm not going to do anything on this wall. I may come down 2 more shelves here on this wall, or I may just get another one of these wire racks here and split it in half and add 2 more shelves to these wire racks, which are a little bit deeper than those shelves. Those shelves are 12 inches deep and these racks are 14, I think 14, maybe 16 inches deep. So I may do that. It would be a lot quicker and actually cheaper just to add on to those racks and move some of my little artwork and things. See, I put up a couple pictures from Iden. He was nice enough to send me those, and I still have more, but I need to get frames for them and probably rearrange things around in here. If I put those racks up, I'll have to move the pictures around. But while I'm here looking up towards the ceiling, it may not look any different, but I put an LED fixture up there. It's brighter than what was up there before and a lot less energy. This is 3700 lumens, and it only uses the equivalent of a 45-watt light bulb. So I didn't just change the tubes either. This is a whole new fixture. In fact, the other one, the old fluorescent fixture, is right there. So what else? Yeah, I am going to space these shelves out more equally, but for right now I added a couple more of these magnetic tool holders. I get those free at Harbor Freight pretty much every time I walk through the door, so as you can see, I love using those things. I'd hate putting crap like this, like all these little needle files, in a cup or in a drawer, and you're searching all around for it. I hate doing that kind of shit. So a lot of the tools that I use quite often, or that are small, again, they'll get lost in a drawer. I like to put up on these magnetic bars. I can see exactly every file here, you know, what type it is, what shape. I can just grab it and go. I don't have to screw around searching for stuff. So there's that. I bought a new set of drill drivers and impact drivers, things like that. Got rid of my 18-volt rigid drill and impact driver and got the 12-volt Milwaukee set. I just find that I don't really need an 18-volt tools like this anymore for the kind of stuff that I do around here. I just don't need that kind of power, and I'd much rather have a very much lighter weight tool to use than a 5-pound drill You know, this thing weighs like 2 pounds, and it uses little tiny 12-volt batteries. So I have that. This is an impact driver, which I don't use that here for doing helmets or anything, but I did use that to put up that light fixture. So, and for opening up my molds, I have the 12-volt. They just call this a screwdriver. It has the 1/4 inch quick connect collet or chuck on it. And this thing, again, the reasoning for buying this whole set, when you're opening up these molds over here, some of these have 12, 13 bolts in them, screws. Holding a heavy 18-volt drill with a huge battery on it, just opening up those molds and closing them up time after time, especially if you're going through a big casting session, you have a ton of molds to open up and close. Well, it kind of gets old with that real heavy drill. So this thing I bought because it's even smaller than the drill driver, and it's even lighter, so I use this all the time to open and close those molds. And it has plenty of power. I could probably open and close, meaning take out and add and put back in all these bolts, probably 20 times before I have to charge this little battery. And even then it only takes a half hour. So, and I have another one there I can just grab. And of course I set the clutch, this here, set that, and it tightens all the screws exactly to the same tightness, and keeps the shells from warping or over tightening screws, etc. So I would recommend these 12-volt Milwaukee tools to anybody. I love these things, and they have a shit ton of other 12-volt tools, not just drills. Alright, so there's that. That's what I keep in that bag down there, obviously. I'm looking around here to see what else I got. Bunch of mold release. I buy that stuff sort of in bulk. I buy a case at a time if I can. Saves on shipping and saves on price per can. There's another can over here. So this right here is alginate. This is for life casting. If you wanted to do a mold of someone's face or hand or whatever, that's what you would use. This is pretty much a one-time use mold because it'll dry up, crack, and a lot of times it'll crumble when you're taking it apart, taking your cast out of it. So up top, again, I want to get this top stuff done. I got these those are crash dummy helmets from I think the late 80s, early 90s. Of course, this is like a first generation set and a second generation set. A little bit different, a little bit bigger on the newer set. Those are, from what I've found, extremely hard to come by. I'm going to get up on the stool here so I can show you a little closer. They're a little bit hard to come by. I've been searching for I just wanted one of them, actually, one of these, for about 2 years. And believe it or not, I put an ad on Craigslist and was surprised to find somebody that had both sets and the rest of the costumes with them. So I was able to snag them, grabbed them all up, and these ones came from eBay. So anyhow, you'll see this pink one over here. That's actually a cast because I did mold this one. These are vacuum formed, and they're so old, a lot of them are misshapen. The front and back halves don't really match up. I'm trying to get on the workbench here. A lot of the front and back halves don't really match up perfectly, so took this one, did some heat gun work to it, got it a lot better, cleaned it all up inside and out, with goo gone. You know, there's melted hot glue all inside here holding this mesh in. Cleaned all that up, cleaned it up with alcohol, cleaned it up with dish soap, put it together, molded it, and that is the first cast. This pink one here. And it's pink just so I can see the details a little bit better, because I will eventually fix that and remold it. Okay, so these three still have to be restored, I guess you could say. Some of you may recognize this here. If you're watching this video on YouTube, yes, this is the sort of my claim to fame as far as YouTube. The Iron Man helmet, the Pepakura Iron Man helmet, the first time and the last time I will ever do Pepakura. This is, I think I started this in 2012, and here we still are. No, it's not done. It's pretty much where it was in the part 13 video. A little bit more has been done to it. The cheek lines have been carved in, and a few more things, but it always seems to take the back burner to other projects, other helmets that need to be worked on, molds that need to be made, things like that, things that actually generate a little bit of income. So I do have the ears for it and the teeth. They're in a box down here, so I don't lose them. So yeah, there's that. I guarantee you I will finish this one of these days when it's a little slower, but yeah, there he is. I don't keep this in here normally, but I'm cleaning the room where I keep a lot of helmets, so just brought it over here till I clean that room, and I blast the helmets off with my air compressor just to dust them off. I'll take it back over. That is the Crash Dummy helmet mold, which if I can flip it over I will, one-handed, and show you the inside. It's sticking to a little base I have it on. So this is the Crash Dummy helmet mold, you can see in there, and it's Rebound 40, and just a plaster bandage mother mold. This wasn't meant to be like a production mold, that's why I made the outer shell just out of plaster bandage, but it works for now. You can put straps on that or use electrical tape or whatever. I just have some masking tape holding halves together. Did have electrical tape on it before, but it likes to stick a little bit too much to that plaster, so I use masking tape now. And I sealed that plaster also after it was nice and dry and cured. I put on probably 5 coats of gloss white spray paint inside and out just to seal the plaster so it doesn't absorb moisture and to store it over time. Alright, what else do we got here? I got a spray gun now. I've had this for a while. I use this for spraying this epoxy primer right here. This is the hardener, and here's some reducer for it. This thins it down. I sprayed that Pink Ranger helmet with epoxy primer, and this is what I sprayed it through. This is not a super expensive gun or anything, but it works really good. It's a mini sort of like touch-up gun, and this cup didn't come on it. Came with a bigger one, but I don't need a bigger cup than that. I don't even need that much really, just for spraying a helmet. This is actually a Durablock brand HVLP gun, same as this. These sanding blocks, this company that makes these sanding blocks, so and it works really good. So if you want a decent spray gun that's not a lot of money, do not buy the Harbor Freight ones. I made that mistake once, and I won't do it again. They're absolute shit. The seals in them leak, and just buy something decent to start with. Alright, here is I didn't show this last time, although it was on the top shelf in the studio here. You probably couldn't tell what it was, but maybe you can now. This is a 3D printed Shredder helmet from Ninja Turtles. So, started working on this. This is sealed and coated with XTC 3D, the coating for 3D prints, and all the white is epoxy filler that I've added to start cleaning it up. See around the back here, the spikes set up like this, obviously, but they're just kind of sitting out on top right now. There are those little square there that keys onto this part. And if I can get it back in here, sorry if I'm not putting the camera where it needs to be. So yeah, that thing is very big and actually heavy now, because you can't see, but I fiberglassed the inside of that. You can see right here, there's actually steel rods I fiberglassed into these points as well to keep them nice and strong, so they're not gonna break off. That thing, that's a badass helmet right there. One of these days I'll get to finish it, probably a long time from now. Got some Smooth Cast 300 here. That's what I usually make the helmets out of. Sometimes I'll back them fiberglass, sometimes I won't. I think I got, what, 8 gallons there. I ordered 16 gallons of this during a sale, so I have half it left, actually less than half, because those are almost empty. So I always buy stuff like that in bulk when I can, if there's a sale. Not much else here. Oh, here's a new matrix mold that I'm working on of another helmet. Maybe you can tell which helmet it is, maybe you can't, but yeah, that's all oil clay on top of the helmet. Most people will use water-based clay. I use oil clay because there's no way I'm getting all this work, all this smoothing and everything done in one day, and I don't want to have to worry about water-based clay, keeping it wet, keeping it not wet, damp, so that it doesn't crack overnight, or however long it's going to be until I get a chance to work on it again. Believe it or not, the helmet underneath all this oil-based clay has probably been under there for over a month, because I work on things a little bit at a time. Whenever I have a chance, I'll do a little bit of work and I'll set it aside and do something else, because that's just how it goes. If people need helmets made, casts, etc., people buy stuff, I have to stop working on what I want to work on and do the stuff that generates a little bit of money, so I can put it right back into all this and keep doing what I'm doing. What else did I do? There's a little skull mold that I made. If you guys are watching this on Facebook, you've seen it a million times, I'm sure. This is a little tiny, I have a little crystal skull. I'll show you one of the little casts. I have a little crystal skull and I made a mold of it, so I make these just in my downtime. I don't sell these or anything. This was just a little project to do something. So there's another little skull up there. There is the other. This is the cup that actually came on my paint gun, my spray gun. It's twice the size. That's 8 ounce. So again, I just bought a 4 ounce cup because I don't need all that shit. Some Rebound 25 down there. I got some pieces of foam here that I use as sanding blocks. pieces of acrylic and sanding blocks. Rivets down here for putting clasps on helmets. This I use whenever I spray any kind of primer through my gun. This is a water trap that goes on the air compressor right here in line to keep any kind of water out of the paint gun, which is no good for the paint and no good for the paint gun. Moving on, got a huge tube of green spot putty here. Alcohol. This is chopped up silicone from registration keys that I never use, so I'll use that as filler material on the next mold. This is some holographic mylar, which I was going to use for a little secret project, but I'm not going to use that now. Maybe I'll use it for something in the future. These are just little tints and colorants for epoxy. What else? It's a PVA mold release right here. I'll use that, spray it through my spray gun on this, the entire thing. Basically what this is a liquid plastic. Spray 3 or 4 coats on there and let it dry, and it'll pretty much turn into a film, just like plastic wrap that you put on a plate or something for in the microwave, and it'll peel right off. So my shell that I'll make on top of this out of fiberglass will peel right off, and if it doesn't, when that stuff dries, it's water soluble, so if I have to yank it off there and there's still some stuck on it, it'll just rinse off in water. A couple more tools here. I got some clay tools. I'm gonna get some more of these magnetic bars because, like I said, I love them things, and I'll probably move that little rack of files and stuff down, put a couple of those bars over there. That's pretty much it, I guess, in here. Got my usual Bondo and Evercoat, things like that. There's some water-based clay down there, about 10 pounds down there. There's some of my silicone, there's carbon fiber and fiberglass, and drill bits, little tools, sandpaper, all kind of chip brushes and things like that. I'm going to take you downstairs now to the basement. This is where I do all of my dirty work, trimming, cutting the helmets, trimming molds, etc. So I got a couple new tools down here. I finally picked up a small table saw, which comes in handy a lot for making simple things like bases to hold helmets, just to be able to take a piece of plywood and not have to get out a circular saw and not have to use a straight edge or anything, just to be able to set the fence and rip that right down. It's such a time saver. I make boards that I roll out clay on that need to be a certain thickness, the clay, so I can lay that clay on top of helmets to make matrix molds. And rather than going and buying a strip of wood that's the thickness I want, I have a lot of plastic over here, so I can take something like this, and again, rather than buying a piece of wood, I can just run this through and rip down a couple strips of this off, and then drill a couple holes and screw them down, and then I'll have a little rolling base to roll out my clay. And the time that it would take me to go buy strips of wood, now that I have a table saw, I can just use something like that and get it done, and not have to worry about getting in the car, going to the store, doing all that. I got a big ass belt sander and disc sander here also, and this is probably one of my all-time favorite tools to use. I had a small sander like this before, but it was just way too small and didn't have the I could take one of those 2x4s down there and feed it into this thing. It would just annihilate it, turn it into dust. And that's only 80 grit sandpaper on here. I put a 40 grit belt on here or something, or a disc, it would just turn it into dust in seconds. So I love that sander. It's a great sander if anybody's looking to get something like this. It's not so much used for the actual making of the helmets in what I do, but again, for rounding off molds, the fiberglass and that, when it's all said and done, rather than trying to use a palm sander or some crap like that, very much easier, quicker. This rotates down if I want. So yeah, got a table saw on that. My standard Dremel here, my little cart where I cut everything, trim up all the helmets. I got some Kevlar gloves here so I don't cut my damn finger off again. That's basically it for the basement here, where I do the dirty work to the helmets, keep all of this dust and crap out of my studio. Alright, so I'm back up in the studio now. I had to dump that memory card. What I was saying about the table saw, I want to show you. This is what I'm talking about as far as boards to roll out clay evenly with the strips of plastic that I can just cut down on the table saw and screw down here, and I can just lay some clay on here. Use this PVC pipe and just roll it out to a uniform thickness, and that's how I put a uniform thickness of clay on a helmet for a mold. Because if you don't know, in this kind of mold, at the end everything that's clay ends up being silicone. And there are a couple more boards down there of different thicknesses for rolling out clay as well. The belt sander thing downstairs, these are a couple clay rakes that I made for smoothing out the clay. I sharpen these on the belt sander. You can see the edge on that. Basically just hold this up to the sanding belt on an angle, hold it real steady, and it puts a very sharp edge on them. These are actually made out of shish kebab skewers. Here's one that I just sharpened on the belt sander, but didn't put a handle on. If I need to get like in a real tough, hard to reach area, I can use this. These I'd put wooden bases on, and again I shaped this wooden handle on that belt sander. Same thing with that. I used my little belt sander when I had it, but just to be able to do this kind of stuff, rather than having to go out and buy a tool that I can make myself, if I have the right tool to make the tool, and in this case it's a belt sander, I'd rather just make one. I can do it pretty quick. So this is a Diamond Disc 4. I'll show it to you. It's an oscillating tool. I'm getting out of breath here talking. It's really damn hot over here. This is an oscillating tool. This is what I use sometimes to cut the fiberglass mother shells, zip it around. So this has a little sander on it right now, but it just vibrates, and you can put blades on it as well. So that's what that diamond blade was for. That'll go through anything. And whenever I make these shells out of fiberglass, in order to trim them up, I'll put that diamond blade on the tool and just it'll go right through that. And then I'll take this entire thing on the belt sander, sand it all down, smooth it, and it's done. You walk you out here. These here are actually going to be, or they already are, drawers for my desk, or my workbench here, I mean. I'm going to put them on the bottom here. My friend works for a company that makes tanks that hold acid, and they make them out of this plastic, or all kind of different plastics, but he's the one that got me this plastic top that I have on my workbench, and I have more sheets downstairs. But besides that, he made these drawers one day, or whatever you want to call them, in his spare time at work, and gave them to me. I have 3 of them, and I was going to use them down here just like this as drawers up under here, okay, because this is pretty much dead space under here. Right now I don't really store anything under here, as you can see, but they were the wrong size. They didn't really fit this workbench, so I had to cut them down. So in order for them to fit on here flush, I had to cut them down, and whenever he's back in town, he'll bring his equipment, and he'll weld this back right onto here again. Plastic weld it. Yeah, I guess that's about it. I'm sure I forgot a bunch of crap, but I've been talking for 45 minutes here. It's hot as hell, and it's humid because it's pouring down rain out, and I don't feel like talking anymore because my voice is getting all raspy, and it's hot over here. It's only 74, but it's hot enough. Feels hotter in here. Anyways, that's gonna be about it. That's the update. That's the tour video for 2018. See you back here a year from now for the next one. See you later, guys.